Good morning, everyone. Back again with another sit and ramble while I do some painting and modeling and all the usual stuff. Last night I was sipping a cup of tea. I decided to finish off another one of the Gretchen. So it's another one done. All he's got to do is get coated, but the weather's been pretty windy and cold these days here up in the Great White North. So we're not going to be able to finish him fully yet. Also was by the local shop. Now that everything's kind of reopening for shopping. And I did a couple impulse buys. One, I got myself a truck, which I am going to build as exactly a truck. I'm pretty excited about this. I've actually never built one of these kits before. And then in addition to that, I got myself something that I think is sold out online, which is the Burn-A-Bomba and the Blitz-A-Bomba and the Orc Dakajet and the Wazboom Blastajet. All in one, the big box. So this one was pretty exciting because I've been rolling around in the back of my head for the past little while about getting one of these because I think they just look like a phenomenal model. Also, all the little bits, like this whole entire engine assembly and the nose drill is completely optional. So it's like you just get a ton of stuff. So I'm kind of hoping that through the bits from this guy, because I'm not going to build the Wazboom Blastajet. I think it's the worst of them, unfortunately. So rather than build that guy, I'm either going to go with the Dakajet, the Blitz-A-Bomba, or the Burn-A-Bomba. And so, personally, I'm not going to have... I'm going to end up, like, using all these little random bits for everything. So, like, the... I might try and make a mech boy with a custom force field. I think I'm going to probably use this engine assembly and maybe some of the bits for the Smasher cannon to build another mech gun. I've got the bones of a Boomdaka Snazwagon sitting on the back shelf behind me. It was back when I originally fell in love with the model. I tried to customize him, make him like an up-armored version, so I'd have the three. I'd have the buggy one that had no armor, I'd have the like traditional one which has the big bumper, and then I had a bunch of other bits that I glued onto one. He didn't really turn out the way I was wanting him to, and the Boomdaka Snazwagon is just atrocious as far as rules goes, so having three of them painted up is kind of a waste. So I'm probably going to turn him into either a mech gun or maybe another truck. So it all depends. I'm going to start off by getting the truck done first, and then I'll move on to the Wazboom Blastajet. And the reason that I actually made this like random decision to purchase a bunch of Warhammer was I got accepted to be on a wait list for some local events here in my area. So I'm in Ontario, and there's not much as far as tournaments and games go because a lot of spots aren't able to have their tables open. But in just recently, they decided to reopen the province, and kind of by doing so, they've allowed for businesses to run events again. So all the events filled up instantaneously because a lot of them were booked from like a year ago and been pushed off. So I'm on the wait list. I'm hopeful, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening. So that's enough for the models of the future. I'm so excited for these guys. Actually, you know what? Let's do a little unboxing because I've never actually looked at the sprue for the Orc truck. Like I was saying, I hopped into Orcs at the beginning of COVID here, and what ended up happening was they just were like a passion project. I'd always had a couple boys sitting around and Gretchen, and I haven't really added much to the Orc collection since the buggy release. So, oh yeah, always cut away from yourself, kids. Don't do what I do. Do as I say. All right, let's take a look here. This is probably the least quality opening of all time. So it's a 2-sprue kit by the looks of it. A lot of big flat armor panels. That's probably the bed of the truck. Got our driver torso there. The heads with this kit are weird, man. They've got like the little spiked pin, like spiked helmets. Little joystick here. Very cool. I'm gonna probably build them bare bones. Oh, that's the frame on the bottom, and it comes with all the tire accessories, which is pretty sweet because you can never have enough tires. I'm probably just gonna build them with the big shooter because personally right now I don't feel that a close combat truck is worth the points. You pay like an additional 7 and that gets you another grot. I'd rather have that wound over a wrecking ball that only can be used once per fight. So this looks like it's kind of the back of the truck. I assume this is the gunner over here. It's interesting. I think that's the exact same helmet actually as the war bikers. And I'm not a big fan of it. It's got like the cones on the ears. Just looks kind of goofy, I personally feel. A little bit more goofy than I accept for orcs. And then we've got our little stick bomb chucko over here. Exhaust pipes. There's the wrecking ball. It's a sweet, don't get me wrong, I love the wrecking ball's concept. Like, just having a giant wrecking ball attached to a truck that you swing into a vehicle. That's pretty hardcore and metal, but man, they really didn't make it worth its points. And then you've got all these like little glyphs as well, which are awesome. And they all mean different things. What's funny is this is, I think, just the number 4, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, this one's just an X. But you can actually look in the Orc Codex. They've got the little glyph, the glyph dictionary for what everything means, and everything means a lot in Orc. So that's the truck. That's pretty exciting. Got the old transfer card. If you use those, it's kind of the usual Orc one. Nothing special. You get the same one in the boys kit. And this is one of the old truck kits, because this is before the re-release of all the rules on the build-outs, which is actually something interesting that I'm going to identify when we get to it, regarding the kind of craziness that is orcs and everything that's going on with the builds right now. GW's got a certain design and style that they want you to adhere by, so if you don't, I guess you're not playing orcs right now all of a sudden. Anyway. That's a more political conversation regarding the current politics of Warhammer and how it's changing, especially the modeling department. But let's move on to, actually, I'm going to keep the instructions out because we're going to do a little comparison. And then, if I cut this guy a bit. So you can see the new box versus the old one. Okay, so I pulled out the instructions. So this is something I just want to identify is, one, they've got the power level on here and where in a detachment they deploy. And then they've got 2, the rules of the back, compared to, that's like kind of a glossier book, higher quality, compared to the good old days where there was no written instructions and everything was just kind of there, right? Like what we're looking at, not even 1, 2, 3 pages of assembly and it's done. Now I understand this guy's got way more kit. But this is the page that I really wanted to draw attention to. So, since I've never bought one of these before, I can't confirm if this was ever something that was noticeable in the designs. But you can see they've put like a colored diagram showing all the different types of planes that you can build from this kit. And the associated parts, right? So for the Wazboom Blastajet, it's got the wing missiles, it's got the gunner on the back prop, it's got like I think they're teleporter blastas, and then the custom, or the smash cannon on the bottom, and then that like nose jet. And then not the teleporter, what's it called? The force field projector on the top. Compared to something like the Burnabama, which has these kind of custom-made wings that have the little slits cut out of the back. It's got, rather than the missiles, it's got like a fuel pod reserve on the sides. It's got the guns associated with it, just completely underslung. The little rockets. And the kind of the jet engine on the back is different designs for each one. So, what I'm saying is, hypothetically, if you were to listen to what GW says, if you put your tail fins or your wings in a certain orientation, you'd have one of the jets versus the other. I'm not a big fan of that because orcs, everything's ramshackle. They don't really have their own manufacturing. It's a Mech Boys mad design, plus, in this case, a member of the Cult of Speed being like, oh, I want a flat plane, right? So, and this comes down to me personally preferring, I'm going to design mine to be similar to this one, where it's got the big kind of olden day bomber look with the huge props on the back wing. I'm going to swap this, like, there's kind of like a robotic mech part back here. Instead, I'm going to try and get the Gretchen to fit into the gun pod on the back, so he's kind of like a backwards gunner. Because my game plan is, I want to either be able to run as the Blitzabomber or the Burnabomber. And because those two have the most similar layouts, the only difference is the bomb that they drop. I think he has DACA guns, and I think he has big shooters. Sorry, I'm looking at this. I don't even know if it's on camera right now. He has big shooters. He has DACA guns, I think. So, instead of having the grot like in a fixed back seat position, you can make him so he has like a glass ball kind of concept, and I'm going to try and put that out in the back of the wing, because I think, or the back of the tail, because I think that looks pretty cool. I'm going to not put in the big motor engine. I don't think I'm going to put in the big like teleporter blasters or mega cannons, whatever these are, because they're okay. I just don't like the look of them personally. It's too much going on. And then I'm going to do the open-faced cockpit from the Dakajet, because I think it looks hilarious to have like just orky as hell, just having the pilot completely exposed. I mean, they only are, what, toughness 6 with a 4-up armor save, so totally believable that that's what orcs would be flying around in. And then the jets, you can see on the Dakajet, they don't come over top of the engine from this photo here. They stop right at the front. Meanwhile, with the Dakajet and the Burnabama and the other variants, the engines actually come out over top of the wing. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have that kind of gas pipe, or the exhaust pipe, coming out of the top and off the sides. I'm not going to do the wing missiles because I don't think they look too good personally. I prefer, which one is it? The look of the Blitzabomber with the kind of fuel reserve pipes on the back. So that's kind of what we're going to be working with. So that'll be exciting. And I'll do documentation of it over time. And we'll see how it goes. But onto, oh, and I guess I'll give you a little idea of the sprue. If I can get the box open again. It's a pretty big box, everything considered. So, transfer sheet, unique to the plane, as far as I know. It's got a lot of different orc heads on it. It's funny, they've got little cracks for the glass, which I've actually never noticed before on anything. That's pretty cool. I don't know if those are showing up right there in the center below the Snakebite logo. Yeah. The worst ones on here, in my opinion, are the Evil Sons ones. I think they just look pretty bad, all things considered. The checker pattern around the red circle is just not very attractive to the eye. I think the blacked out version's better, personally. And then we got more glyphs. I don't know, I've never used transfers. Not a big fan of them. I find they always turn out glossy. Mind you, there's a lot of ways on YouTube you can watch to figure out how to reduce the gloss and make them look a lot better. And heck, if you want your orc to belong to a certain clan, why not? I think that's Goths, Snakebites, don't know who those are. Those just look like some evil guys. That's the Death Skulls, got Blood Axes, Bad Moons. Bad Moons got some love because they got 3 different versions, and same for the... or sorry, 2 different versions, and same for the, what are they? Evil Sons. So yeah, you got all your little bits on here. I think it's, they're fun. They're fun to look at, fun to draw inspiration from. And then we have the clear plastic from the kit, which is surprising. I've never worked on a Falcon or anything with clear plastic before. All my vehicles have been Russes in the past. And the clear plastics is pretty beat up. There's a lot of scratches on it, actually. I'm surprised. It's not too clean. So I guess that's good. It'll definitely look orky in that concept. I might try and do a null and wash over it to kind of give it that effect of being a little tinted maybe. So there you go. You got the bubble gun for the grot where he'll be sitting inside of. And then we got the little visor for the pilot. Some really cool little designs there. Can't wait to use that on other stuff too. I've got a couple Def Copses who are waiting for life, assuming they get put into the new codex. Got the flight base. Now, this is interesting. I didn't realize how friggin' small flight bases are compared to buggy bases. So, flight base on the left, buggy base on the right. That's a huge difference when you think about it. So buggies take up a massive amount of real estate on the board compared to a flyer. Just some crazy things, man. And then we got, looks like a pinning project in the wings waiting. It's got these little like tips on the bottom. I don't know. I still haven't decided on the base itself, how I'm going to design it, but might be interesting. See how it goes. I'm going to definitely try and magnetize these because I've seen the jet part break all the time on flyers, so I've got a little bit of fear and not exactly too thrilled about that, but hey, it'll be fun. Just dropping the spruce, so there you go. We got a big wing segment. We got 2 of the big shooters or DACA guns. Got more DACA guns. It's a pretty detailed sprue. A lot of sanding waiting to happen. See all like the little flaws in the plastic, which is okay, because I prime white and not metallic, so it really doesn't matter too much. Got one of that looks like the top of the jet, one of the options for the like center circular piece where the engine's kind of sticking out on the Wasboom blasted jet. There we go. We got the nose cone. I guess this is what they take for the Megatrap scrapjet, slap some more blades onto, and there you go, you got your cylindrical cutter. Got a great big mech head here, up at the top, right there. It's got like the little screws, nuts, and bolts coming out of the top of his dome. Absolutely love it. Got great parts for the force field projector, stick bomb chuckas, which I don't even think you can equip on here, so I guess those are technically supposed to be flares. Looking at these now, these are definitely mega cannons because they got the like little ball appendages on the bottom. I think there's a lot of play in here to make some mech guns out of this kit, plus a truck and some other stuff. We got some like rivets for ammunition coming out of a gun. My favorite, all the bombs on the bottom. Definitely get some some old movie concepts here with the big kind of comedic design. Very reminiscent of like World War II, I think it is, and World War I aviation bombs. And what was it, Lovejoy? Now I love learn to stop fearing the boom, learn to love it or whatever. That great movie. Definitely looks like something that a Gretchen would be riding down on. So I can't wait to work on those. And then we got the little fuel pods. This is the reverse of that side. Looks pretty good. We got our little reticles. And it looks like just some random wing missiles. And then we've got the main chassis of the plane itself. We got so you can see it's two pretty big like sections of plane. There's a lot of like little circuitry showing through, which is awesome. Can't wait to put some contrast in there. Yeah, so looks like that's probably going to be the ball for one of the pilots, or one of the gunners. Got the engines, the exterior engines, I guess. Got his little booties over here. His two shoes do not look the same, which is funny. I always love those little concepts. And then we've got our bunch of little heads. What's interesting is, pretty sure this grot head here is the one from the Megatrap Scrapjet back gunner. This guy here, if you put on his little, he has a scarf, and he's from the not Shock Jump Dragster. What is it? The Storm Boys. He's from the Storm Boys. He comes with a scarf. And that kit, notoriously, the nose gets bent, so this one's pretty clean. This guy's got, it looks like, is it a scar? No, it's his tongue. He's got his tongue hanging out. He's got like the little Russian cap on, which is pretty funny. Guess it gets pretty cold up in higher altitudes, right? So this guy's definitely my favorite for the uniqueness. Then on the orc side, for the pilots, we got one with a pilot's like captain hat on right here. We got a unique one, which is the like scarf flying out the window behind him, which I think that might be the one. Or we've got like our Top Gun one, which is he's got aviators on, he's got the call cap on with the little microphone. These two are my favorites. This one's okay, kind of a little too goth for me. The Goths have their Storm Boys, they wear like the officers' caps and stuff because they all trained under Zagstruck, who's like the only one who uses tactics of orcs, who isn't a blood axe. And then we've got just one wearing a little flight cap. You're least crazy of them. I think I'm gonna probably use this guy here because these three can all be swapped onto tanks, bikers, all that kind of stuff. This one in particular, though, is pretty amazing. I think I'm going to save that for a project because that is my favorite. Yep, I'm going to come out and say, this is my favorite one on the sprue right now, which has the aviators and the little talk box off his head. That's pretty awesome. So it's a good kit. That's a lot of sprue. 1, 2, 3, 4 sprues in the jet. So that was back in the day when Games Workshop was definitely down with people being able to build whatever they want. Or no, he's putting the instructions for the truck in the same box as the flyer. Who cares? Truck's a little bit more self-explanatory than the flyer, so I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, so there you have it. Those are the two new kits that I'll be working on in the near future here. But back to the important things. Oh, and I also got myself some contrast medium because I want to do a video discussing how to use it because that video is kind of in response to one of the Facebook groups I'm on, they were really down on the dumps about contrast paints being good for any flat surface painting. And in my experience, got a little dirt on them, I find that flat contrast paints, like flat surfaces with contrast paints, can work really well for orcs. I don't know about the application for Eldar. That was the model in question. I think it was a Falcon. So we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, so just an excuse to show off my models. This is one of the Gretchen we've had done recently. So he's ready to go. Just needs that that quick coat. And yeah, so let us begin with some painting. Ignore the dog noises behind me. He's being a dog. Yes, hello. So I think we're going to start working on this Gretchen that I started getting work done. For the skin tone, we're using the Landon Yellow contrast paint. And then over top of that, some Beal Tan wash. And then we'll probably almost have this guy done. There's no way I can really set a timer, but we'll get him done. I'll just do some rambling. And we'll go from there. So the events this year that I've put myself down on the wait list for. Oh, here's my other Gretchen that I've been working on. Chuck them over here because they're both in the same kind of stage of getting Beal tanned up. So the event that I've registered myself for, on the wait list at least, is a 2,000 point tournament. I'm having a bit of a conflict of like reality and thought process and me just being who I am. I think deeply about my opponents and making sure that everyone who I play against has a fantastic time while they're generally kicking my ass. But the thing is, I don't know if I want to bring the orcs I've been painting and working so diligently on during COVID, or if I want to take my guard. So the only thing is, I haven't had much practice as far as Warhammer goes. I've been playing a couple of self games. Yes, I am that lonely nerd in the basement playing by himself with his toys. But it's so hard to actually like judge whether or not that's a representation of what the hobby actually is. And the biggest thing is I don't want to bring the orcs and slow down everyone's play, especially if I end up miraculously at the top table somehow. Which is not possible. During my first tournament ever, I ended up in third with my guard. And so I think everyone had a pretty good time. I did get yelled at for more or less giving the win to the guy at the end of the game because I didn't deploy well. I lost in the deployment phase. Anyway, but it was a fun experience all around, and I think everyone had a good time. And that was the excuse for that one being as it was, though, was it was a new codex that I won that tournament with. I'm going to count being in third as a win for me because I don't generally place ever. So the codex was new, and it was at the beginning of 8th, so a lot of people were just still learning the ropes. It was a lot of like introduction to the hobby for a lot of people. So in that case, it's, you know, it's okay to be a little slower because everyone's kind of learning together. But some people have been able to continue to play even through COVID with like their gaming groups. And since I did a big move right before or during COVID, I kind of lost my gaming group. Everyone's out in Halifax. I'm now the Lone Ranger in Ontario. And my usual shop that I used to play at when I was a kid, they haven't been able to put the tables back in. So there's really no way for me to make new connections yet in the hobby and develop a gaming group who I can trust to, you know, wear a mask, come hang out indoors, play some games, be in the same social bubble, right? So, long story short, since I haven't had the opportunity to play a lot, I feel like I should take an army that I'm more comfortable and familiar with, so that way I'm not slowing down the game, and that would be my Imperial Guard. That being said, Imperial Guard, they look like garbage, and this is like me coming back onto a new scene for Warhammer. I'd like the first introduction to me being a player in the community in this area is one that people can enjoy the models that I've done. Because my Guard army is fun. It's got a lot of kit bashing and a lot of character to the models, but it was definitely when I wasn't taking the time or the pleasure, and it was before COVID, or before contrast. So the models look absolutely horrendous for the amount of time I put into them. They're painted absolutely, well, pardon my language, dog shit terrible. So I'm a little hesitant to bring them because they don't represent what I'd like to be in the hobby anymore, which is someone who focuses on modeling and painting and then is a solid player all around too. So that's kind of the dilemma I'm currently faced with, which is whether or not to bring the orcs or to bring the guard. The other thing is I don't have 2,000 points of orcs yet. Even if I get everything that I own currently painted, modeled, and ready to go, tabletop ready to my standard that I've been painting the orcs to, the end result is I think I end up with like 1,800 points. So, although one of the local stores in the area, I didn't realize there's so many Warhammer shops in my little neighborhood area. Well, neighborhood for me being 20 kilometers, but let's up that 30 kilometers. But they have another Dacajet model for sale, and they have it at a discount. I think like 82, so almost $10 off. So I'm rolling around in my head. I just had to drop my car off at the shop to get it repaired. So not that it was like in an accident or anything, just that it's an old car and the brakes are shot on the back, or something's up with the suspension. Something's up. Anyway, so depending on how that goes this weekend, I may or may not go and make another purchase. My excuse being I am turning 25, so hopefully, you know, I should be buying myself something nice, right? Anyway, so that guy's got his first coat of Bile Tan on. I'll get to this one. But yeah, so as far as me taking armies to a tournament goes, maybe I'll put up, I don't think I have access to the community tab yet because I'm so friggin' small with 16 subs. Thank you to everyone who's subscribed. To all you lurkers, hey, subscribe. Maybe I'll put up, like, I guess on one of the other social medias, a little poll or something, or I'll ask in one of the Facebook groups I belong to and lurk in. And that's whether or not to take the orcs or to take the guard. Fun fact, neither of them I would say are considered A tier or S tier lists or armies, especially with how I run them. So, I don't think anyone will be, I think the major response if I ever ask online, hey, what should I bring, this or this, it'll always be, bring whichever one you feel comfortable, Taylor. I'll be like, shoot, that's the guard, because I'm still learning orcs. But in my defense, it's kind of a weird curveball learning, because guard, everything's pretty much the same, I've noticed, across the board. Everything hits on 4s in shooting. Everything hits on 5s in close combat. Everything hits on 4s in shooting. Everything hits on 4s in close combat. Compared to orcs, where everything is so friggin' sporadic. Majority of the vehicles, yes, hit on 5s. But you get the outliers where there's just friggin' random grots in vehicles. And to represent that, Games Workshop has improved the ballistic skill of that vehicle. Or in the case of like the shock jump dragster, they've improved it by 2. Which doesn't make sense at all, but, you know, whatever. I feel like having a Gretchen there firing the gun, he'd probably be being yelled at and hit by the orc, so he'd probably be even worse than an orc as far as shooting goes, you know. Nervous maniacal maniacs plus grot overlord equals probably nothing good as far as ballistic skill. But yeah, so I've been playing mostly with my little practice games against myself, my guard lists, with the buggies that I've finished up, because they're a big, fun, chunky model, and they've got some fun little mechanics and stratagems from Psychic Awakening. Specifically, was it War of the Beast or whatever? Rise of the Beast. The Orc and Space Wolves book that came out there. Not to get onto another random tangent, but it's kind of sad that they wasted the name Rise of the Beast on that book when the Beast didn't come back. For those of you who don't know, the Beast was a orc who was closer to the original design by the old ones of the orcs, and that was still intelligent. So over the years, through evolution and combat, orcs have become decidedly disabled mentally. They put things together, and it just miraculously happens. It's rumored to be that the fluff says if an orc believes it, that's what happens. But there's been so many retcons, who knows? Who knows? Anyway. And the more orcs that they have together, the more their, like, subconscious psychic powers start to activate, right? So they're able to develop more crazy constructs, right? So that's why when an orc army first starts, they usually have a lot of tribal, feral, snakebite orcs. And over time they become more and more advanced civilized, and hypothetically they would eventually evolve towards using mega gargants, which are huge walking fortresses with guns attached to them and tons of close combat gear, because orcs, and like more advanced technology like teleporters and all that kind of fun stuff. But before I get off topic, so the Beast, he was an intelligent orc. There was believed to be, I think, 6 of them, and it took the Primarchs quite a lot of pressure to actually get rid of them. So the Salamanders were involved. Their Primarch got the crap beaten out of himself. What's new, I think. I really shouldn't go into lore. This isn't a lore video. But anyway, there's many better YouTubers who can do lore videos than me. But I'm giving you just my random thoughts. So the Beast is supposed to be a specific orc who's really intelligent, really big, really strong. But instead, we got stuck with Gazgul, who, well, yes, he is the Prophet, and it's a great model. I don't think he's even remotely the Beast, because the Beast got up to that like dreadnought size just by being an orc. Well, Gazgul was decapitated by Ragnar, I think it is, from the Space Wolves, and as such, he had his head put back on to like a massive walking body. So that's why he went from being such a small meganob to such a huge model. At least that's what I think it is in the fluff and the lore. You know, it's something. You know, maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll actually see some true Beast models, some Primarch-sized orcs down the line. But this goes back to a previous conversation I had where I think that, yes, orcs are coming down the line. They will be one of the next codexes. No, I don't think it's going to be a big release. We were given the buggies back in 2018. That was a huge release. Compared to all the other Xenos factions, we've definitely had a lot of love. Auspex Tactics is another YouTuber. If you haven't watched his stuff, I'm surprised because you found me, and I'm kind of the occult group on the internet right now. But he did a range review that was unique, which was he was comparing how old, on average, the model ranges were from each faction. And no surprise, like, Tyranids are the worst off with Eldar. So, and I think it was Eldar, on average, is 16 years old per model. The most recent stuff they got was Jane Zar and the Banshees, and that was in a one-off box with Drazar and his Incubi. You look at the Falcon, you look at the Viper, all those models, holy shit, they're old, man. I think they're as old as me, almost. I think they're like 20-something years old. So, there you go. And apparently the Falcon's an absolute pain in the butt to put together. You got to use a lot of elastics to, like, stick them together. But hey, I'm not an Eldar player. Never have. Probably never will be. I know that's really short-sighted to say, but hey, whatever. I'm not a big fan of the pointy ears. I've never been a big fan of elves in any media. I much prefer orcs, dwarves, all the robust and rotund of the factions. All right, so we got our Bile-Tan done. Use some Gryph-Hound Orange now. I've been doing, so like with this guy here, I've been doing orange for the base coat on some weapons and then hitting it up with Leadbelcher or Iron Breaker, all the little fun metallics, and then giving it a wash with Agrax, just kind of help it look a little bit more worn. I'm liking the result. It originally started when I did my knob a couple weeks back for the workbench, or not for the workbench Wednesday, the 40K goals. And I like the result so much that it's actually inspired me to start sneaking in that paint scheme, adding in orange weapons into more units, which is A-okay, man. Like, hey, a little bit of variety in a model, always accepted. So for this guy, now it's going to be real lazy. I'm going to make everything that isn't skin orange. I'm going to wash the metallics dry brush the metallics over what should be metal. So like his blade, his pistol, his little belt there. And then I'll probably do his foot. Oh shit, I just noticed. I missed his toes. How did I miss his toes? All right, well, we'll come back to those. Anyway, so we're going to do the majority of them orange. Or do I might sneak some blue, actually. I might chuck some blue onto his loincloth, because I think that would look pretty perky. So let's do that. So let's start on... Ooh, that's way too thin. So this comes back to what I was talking about at the very, very beginning, talking about contrasts on flat surfaces and falcons. I'm going to suggest that if you're someone who wants to try and experiment with contrasts on flat surfaces, really dilute it, but not with water. You're going to want to get yourself, sorry for the ASMR here in a second, I'm playing with a plastic bag. Going to want to get yourself a bottle of contrast medium. And I think it's a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm going to do a video on this. It's a great way, I believe, of thinning out your paints without affecting the color or how it dries. So this shit here is going to help me become a better painter, and I'm going to help you. The interesting thing is it's bigger than the contrast bottle. I was hoping it was the same volume, so that way I could say just add the two into a bigger jar and have pre-mixed contrast medium with paints. However, from my research, since it's a 1-to-1, I'm going to have to, like, me being a chemist in my background, I'm going to definitely have to, not the Heisenberg chemist, not the cool type, the shit in university, can't get shit done chemist. I'm going to definitely try and figure out how to volumetrically measure the two. Because I don't think I can use a micro scale, because this is way too, like, I don't know what the viscosity is difference between the two. Hypothetically, since that's a medium, it should thin out the paints compared to this one. So it should have a less viscosity, I would assume. Anyway, so, oh god, I'm just butchering this guy because I'm not really thinking. I'm just putting paint on him. Damn you, Scary, and just put paint on it. JK, love you, buddy. Never met you. Don't know you. But I do like your content. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get like a little pipette, just like a cheap one from the dollar store, or maybe a decent-ish one used from like an automotive section for like oils. My brush is shedding. Fantastic. Army painter. Good for about 100 models. Anyway. So yeah, so that's how I'm probably going to do it. I'm going to try and volumetrically add 5 mils with 5 mils, see what that looks like, go from there. Because I actually didn't even put like the amount on these bottles, which is pretty funny. I'm looking at them. Yeah. No volume on here, which is pretty goofy. Come on, Games Workshop. Anywho, so that's kind of what's going on. That might be, I don't think it's going to be a Workbench Wednesday for next week. I think it's going to be one for like a couple weeks from now. Because it's just something that I'm going to have to go around and find some supplies to do. Some supplies in a pandemic to do. And me trying to be a good Samaritan, I'm not walking around the streets giving everyone a handshake with my mouth. You know? Trying to keep the spread of COVID low. Trying to keep those old people alive. Trying to keep young people from having permanent damage. Alright. So you get the gist here. We're just slapping it on. It's getting lighter in the like flatter sections, darker near the bottom, which is fine. Kind of makes it look like the light's coming in from, if my paintbrush was the light this direction, hitting the blade and going down, and there's some shading going on underneath. So that's most of his blade done. Got his thigh a little bit, but I think with a wash of Agrax, that won't be as noticeable. Oh, just notice this little spot down here that I missed. Because dry brush and Agrax are your friends when you want to look like a decent painter. Oh, so more to that point. The tournaments that I got onto the wait list for, they are being held at a place in Oshawa, Ontario. Great name, the Schwagedy. And they're also doing a painting contest. And I thought, hey, why don't I enter something that I've done? Because, you know, screw it, why not? I've been trying to improve my painting. I think it's come a long way from where I used to be. And I'd love to, like, get some feedback. Because the top, I think they said the top 3 models, there's a professional painter or a Golden Demon Canadian guy or someone like that who's going to be judging them. And I'd go in with the intention of not actually winning because, let's be honest, I don't know how to do non-metallic metals. And I never want to learn because it looks like a pain in the butt and takes a long time. But hey, actually, I should never say learn because, you know, lifelong learner. Hopefully we'll learn new stuff throughout the existence of this hobby. But more to that point of this random friggin' ramble, which is starting to get long in the tooth, and I understand. I'll turn off the camera soon so you don't have to hear me continue to just spout nonsense. Anyway, so they're holding a little painting contest. I thought, hey, maybe I'd enter myself. Entry fee's $20. Grand prize, I think, is $100. So I wouldn't actually be entering with the intention of winning, let alone getting anything out of it, except for maybe some tips on my painting, but I'd have to place in the top 3 to get that. And then more on that is maybe some exposure for the channel. Enter the model under the gaming co-op and see if people Google it. Or maybe I put my first name down as Google and my second name gaming co-op. I don't even know if we show up actually on Google. Yeah. Also, shout out to Nurgle Snurgle. I talked about them during the last paint ramble. She's a Warhammer enthusiast, like Nurgle painter. Good one at that. She's a competitive player and she plays a decent looking Nurgle army. They're pretty grotesque. Her bases in particular are pretty sweet. A lot of natural environment used in them. Leaves and shit, if you will. But she started a YouTube channel. So if you are into new beginning YouTube channels, and if you're down with the hobby and want to support some Canadian production quality and, you know, companies and groups and Warhammer in general, go and find yourself Nurgle Snurgle. I'll see if I can find her videos, and I'll link them down in the description below. Or maybe I'll put them up in the cards. I have no clue. Who knows? Just support Canadian, because, you know, there's not many Canadian YouTube producers out there, I find. A lot of YouTube content, especially Warhammer, except for Mini War Gaming, they're the exception, comes from the States. And even guys like, I think, Brian Poland from Tabletop Titans, he's Canadian. But is he really? He's moved down south. I'd almost consider him American now. Like how Scari's an honorary Canadian or true Canadian. Because, you know, I think he's from Mexico originally. But he's been living up here and playing Warhammer up here long enough that he's now Canadian. He's the Canadian. He's the truest Canadian of Warhammers. Anyway. Watch as I just apparently started beef that no one cares about. Oh, YouTube Gamer with 16 subs. Calls out Brian Poland for not being Canadian. I don't even know if he is the Canadian one. It might be Adrian. Or hell, it might be Richard, Britcher, whatever his name is. Guy behind the camera. Bro with the seductive voice. Alright. So you're getting the gist. Got the contrast on. I'll probably do 2 coats on the gun, just make it a little darker than the blade. And I fucked up and I must have tapped that spot there. You can see where the paint's dried away from the center there. If I go back in there now, it'll just get worse. So let's leave that be. So yeah, I think I'm going to use some Tri-Tarragon Blue or whatever. Hit this back loincloth. Actually, I got it. Sad part is, there's so many of the exact same friggin' model for Gretchen that I think I might have actually done this guy once before with Tri-Tarragon Blue or whatever. So just give me a sec. Let's check the old cupboard behind me here with the finished products. Let's see. So this is him. This is also him. Oh man, that is literally the exact same model. That's funny. I think there should be one more. Wow, isn't this just riveting as far as cinematics goes with Warhammer? Thank you for joining me today. You're on the channel. The majority of it will just be an empty cutting board. Yeah, so I guess this is a good indication I have about 40 Gretchen on the back shelf, because I just found an additional 3, all of the same pose. One of which has the exact same head on it. This guy's got like that little, he's got the little brown cap and his little black eye patch. This is the least good of them. In fact, he's got dust on his face or something. Hold on, let's just use a paintbrush here. Get that dust off there. But he's got painted teeth, so that's okay. So that's the first one. No blue loincloth. Back to that concept of just orange everywhere that isn't skin. Got the second one. I must like using that Griff Charger gray on the metallics. More orange for the loincloth. Last one looks like brass for the blades, lead belcher, and then red for the loincloth. It looks really nice, actually. I think that must be Blood Angels red. Or actually, no, this is one of my original models that I went back and redid. Looks pretty decent. You can still see I gotta drill the hole in the gun there for him. Anyway, so I've actually never done blue before on the loincloth. So I think this is a great opportunity to do it because blue is a great contrasting color to orange. And I got this one here, which is Pterodon, not Tri-Pterodon or whatever I was saying. Pterodon turquoise. I spilt most of the bottle the first time I used it, and then I swore to never use it again because it made me sad. But today, and today only, we're going to try and just use it on this model. You think I should do more than I really should? Should I put it on his hat? What was the other one? The other one was blue hat, eh? And the other one's wearing no hat, and the other one's got a bandana. So let's start. Let's put it on the loincloth first. Ooh, that is a fiercely blue. I'm not angry at it. It almost looks a little Alpha Legion. Oh, I hit his foot, so that means his foot's now got to be blue too. Oh, and this little back pouch. It's kind of how I paint with contrast. If I hit something with it, it has to become that color. So, well, that's way too much too. Jeez. Really looking like a virgin painter this morning. The coffee hasn't set in yet. If you've been hearing me doing those ASMR hot takes of slurping up stuff, that's me just sipping my coffee this morning. All right, that's not looking too bad. I actually quite like the contrast between the green and the blue. That's surprisingly nice. And I don't have much that is orange on this guy yet to really justify it. Oh, goddamn you, contrast. I don't know what it is. Sometimes it pulls away from spots. Look at that. It's retreating away from where I just put it on. It's my dog getting my keys out of my coat because he's crazy. I don't even know if my microphone picks up the background noises here. Anyway. I've always been nervous about actually filming because they're building a monstrous mansion beside my childhood home that I'm now back in. And it's pretty big, pretty noisy. They're consistently drilling all the time, chopping woods, all that sort of stuff. Blasting a hole in the ground to put the foundation because 10-foot ceilings requires a like 16 feet deep foundation or something crazy like that. Like it looked like the Sarlacc pit. Some pretty crazy stuff. Oh, and we hit the blade. Great thing about contrast. You hit somewhere that you don't want it, you just wet your brush heavily and you can just paint it away. All right, so there you go. You got that blue with the orange. I think it's going to look pretty good. That's just the first coat to get the idea done. Got to come back, hit up his feet, make them yellow, then green. But I'm going to finish the video right there. So you got to see 2 new kits that'll be on the table at some point here for Workbench Wednesday after I get this friggin' shock jump dragster done. And these, once I'm finished those 2, I think that leaves me with, what, 1, 2, 3 more Gretchen to go before I finish off my final squad. So that's not too bad. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. So thank you for joining in this afternoon and listening to me ramble while I do my Warhammer usual habituals. Remember, everyone, to hit that like button, subscribe, leave me a comment below if you think I should go with either 1, the Orcs, or 2, the Guard, to the event in March and maybe May, depending on how things go. So yeah, hit those buttons down below, let me know, interact on our various social medias, and thank you for watching. Have a great day.